So the whole idea is we're trying to find out how our goal is to alter behavior. That is it.
Yeah.
That's all we're looking for, right? And so we're trying to find the least amount of pressure we could put on a kid to change that behavior. Some kids, it's just going to be that stern look. Some kids, it's going to be administration. And some kids, even that doesn't work. So each kid is different. And so the idea, I call it progressive discipline, you put on a little bit of pressure each time. And eventually you figure out where each kid is at and what it takes. And it's going to be surprising. It doesn't take that much discipline to get 95% of kids where you want it to be at. I heard this from Mathis. He said this, I thought it was brilliant. He said, it is not the magnitude of the consequence. It is the fact that you're holding kids accountable. If you hold kids accountable, the magnitude of discipline does not matter that much. And so I think about that all the time. I go, yeah, he's right. He's right. So this is how it plays out. And like the first day they're coming in, you want to catch them on everything. You're going to have your expectations up there. You're going to catch them on everything. 2 minutes goes off, timer, and we'll play out tomorrow. Timer goes off, 2 minutes. You are, even before then, like for example, the door.
Yeah.
Do you have a stopper for the door?
I can get one. I bought some, but they were too small and the door slides.
I think I got one. Remind me.
I'll go get bigger ones from Home Depot.
So what I would do, I put a stopper in the door and I would kind of wait right there.
Yeah.
So I can regulate people coming in and I can regulate the class.
Who's in? Yeah.
Because one or the other, you lose something. And if a kid comes in, let's say a kid comes in and as they're coming in, they push somebody else, right? It's nothing major. It's nothing major at all. A push, right? Happens all the time.
Very common.
I put the name on the board. I see that. So they push coming in. They're coming in. I would just quietly come over here and I write their name down over here on the board. You know, bad writing, both here, right? That's it. If they ask what it's about, if they say, hey, what is it? I'll talk to you later, right? That's it. Don't have a depth. That's it. Boom, name on the board. We're holding them accountable. It says detention. We're holding them accountable. They know that we know what they're doing, and we have to have a conversation one way or the other. And so kids come in, so if let's say kids come in, this is gonna be the first day, they're gonna be used to whatever. So you got 5 names down here, whatever they are, 5 names down there. All right, and now they're sitting down. And as they're coming in, I probably say, look at the board, you got 2 minutes, look at the board, you got 2 minutes, look at the board, as they're coming in. And so they come in, backpacks down, 2 minutes are up, the timer goes off, and you got, I don't know, 10 of them up and around standing, right? Just put their names on there.
All the names down.
And all the names down. And maybe Abby, maybe she has another mark because, whatever else it might be. And at this point in time, they're going to be like, why is my name up there? What's going on? I'll talk to you in a second. Here we go, everybody.
Are you also checking off on your clipboard? Or
I would. Not the first day, I wouldn't. Not the first day, because the first day, just trying to set the tone. But afterward, once I want to keep track of things, I would. And so now we got a few kids with a mark, with some no marks, and everything else. But you probably will have about 10 kids, 15 kids on this. Our goal is not to give them a detention. Our goal is to say, I see what you're doing and I'm holding you accountable. That is it. And so the timer goes off and you're explaining, all right, guys, it's a new year, new semester, and I want to make sure we're on the same page. I know you guys already know this, and while you're talking, you might have 4 girls in the back saying something. So and they're, do your thing, and you say, hey, Cynthia, John, Cindy, whatever, up here, please. And you're just going to put a check mark or write their name on the board. If they're asked, well, what is that for? We'll talk in a second. That's it. And you're going to wait until you got everybody's attention. You might have some kids with 3 check marks, 4 check marks, something like that. But eventually you're going to get it. And you're going to say, up here, please. John, stop. Cindy, here, let's go, whatever. All right. And so I'm going to go over expectations today and everything else. So I want to make sure we're on the same page. Here are the expectations. First expectation is when you come in, backpack should be over there.
Yeah.
I noticed some of you didn't have that. So your name's up here for that reason. Well, we didn't know. We'll talk about it in a second. Right? So the idea is that you're just calling them on it. Now, this is like we're going to call this a warning. This is the detention, a warning, right? Whatever else it might be. And then you're going to go through, okay, here's the expectations, everything else. Kid doesn't raise their hand or says something, or something. We talked about expectation. Anything that crosses that threshold of yours, you're going to put up here. No matter how small it is, no matter if it's a good kid, bad kid, whatever else it is, or kid, you put it up there. And so you're going to end up with probably like 20 names up here, right? First day, probably 20. This is for each period. And then Okay, here's our warm-ups that we're going to go through. They'll go through the warm-ups, right?
Right.
And then, all right, now you got 4 minutes. Or maybe you have 3 words. You got 3 words might be good. You got 6 minutes. By yourself, make sure you're quiet, working on this, go. Timer, beep. You got 6 minutes. Now what you can do is you're going to make your rounds. You're going to say, hey, John, you know your name's up there. Do you know what it's for? And if he starts arguing, hold on, not argument. I just want to make sure you know it's up there because when you first came in, you pushed somebody. I'll make a deal with you. We'll take it off. No detention, nothing like that, but you give me a good rest of the period. And you just kind of make your rounds. So now you call them on it. Now they all know that we see what they're doing, and that was basically their warning. Now if it happens again, or you might even say in a conversation, if you continue, I got to issue a lunch detention to you. Or if it continues, if it continues, see me after class. All right, something like that.
Yeah.
And so out of these 10 kids, you're probably going to have about 20 kids. You're probably going to have about 10 that are great the rest of the period. Now you got 10 kids maybe, or maybe 5 kids, whatever else it is. Let's say it's 5 kids, probably more realistic. You got 5 kids that still are acting up. Nothing crazy, but still acting up, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe they were talking when you were talking.
Profanity,
profanity or
talking.
something else. The idea is you're calling them on it each time with a check mark or something. Then at the end of the day, or end of the class, everybody else leaves. You say, okay, hey, you 5 stay behind. We need to have a quick conversation. And you're going to basically, the quick conversation will go, it's your first day back. Hey, I don't want to get you in trouble. I don't want you to, give you detention, nothing like that at all. I just need you to be different. I just need you to be better when you come to the class. I know you can do better. Is there any reason why you cannot make tomorrow a better day? And they'll be like, no, that's no problem. Okay, cool. So I'll tell you what, guys, no lunch detention. I'm not going to put any lunch detention through. No lunch detention. I just need you to promise a better day tomorrow. Okay. So now that ends the first day. So the progression kind of goes from name up here to maybe a check mark. Then maybe it is a conversation after class. And then you kind of take it from there. So the next day comes. Next day comes. Instead of 20 kids, you're going to have like 10 kids, right? 10 kids acting up. First come in or throughout, whatever else it might be. If it's the same kids, you're going to put the name up there and say, hey, remember we talked yesterday about this? I'm not sure what the issue is, but see me after class.
Yeah.
So now this is a see me after class thing. Because we already talked on the first day, see me after class, right? And out of these kids, see me after class, whatever it might be, you got your few more kids after class to say, we talked about this yesterday. I'm not sure what's going on, but hey, we just can't have this. I don't know what more I can do. I already talked to you yesterday when we got today. I need you to come in at lunchtime. Come in at lunchtime and serve. I'll tell you what, if you promise to come in at lunchtime, you serve just maybe a 5-minute detention with me. I won't let the office know. I won't even call home. I'm not even gonna call home. Just come in. I just think you should change your behavior. Come in 5 minutes. We'll have a quick conversation and you're done. So now once again, so it's going slowly, escalating a little bit. You're gonna have some kids come in for those 5 minutes. You talk with them. There'll be like a little reflection sheet. I'll show you what that could look like later on. A reflection sheet.
Yeah.
And then they're done. And you still got a few that don't come in, right? So maybe you're left with 2 kids that don't come in. Next day comes up, third day. We're doing the same warm-ups, right? Nothing's changing. Don't have to do anything. They know exactly what we're doing. Same thing we're doing. Third day comes up, and you got the 2 kids that didn't come in. And you say, Cindy and John, hey, you never saw me after class. You never stayed behind after class. I'm going to give you one more chance. I need you to stay after class today. We need to talk. Otherwise, I got to call home, right? And hopefully they stay and call home. So you're kind of taking it from one step to the other, just a little bit at a time. Along the way, though, probably by starting on day 2, you want to start documenting like crazy in Aries.
In Aries.
In
Okay.
Aries. Documenting like crazy. Because you think about it, by the time I have like 3 check marks, that's basically like 3 things the kid did, you know? This could be small, but 3 things they did. But you want to document, because what's going to happen by day 4, by that Friday, if a kid is still bucking the system, then you have your interventions Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in there. Then Friday comes, then there's no issue with you saying, hey, I'm trying everything I can with you. You're not, go to the office, right? So that way, the office is happy, like, okay, he's done his things.
Right.
And somewhere in between, you'll be and you kind of already have an idea of which kids that's going to be.
Right.
Our goal is not necessarily those kids. Our goal is the other 95%. But if they see you're sticking with it, holding consistent with it, that's when they're going to start kind of falling in line. So that's the progressive discipline. Now, give me some questions.
I did something similar to that, and I did, you know, I asked Mathis for a lot of advice, you know, just document everything, document, and I was doing that. I was writing referrals. I would send kids out periodically just to make examples, you know.
Yeah.
But I felt like I was just spinning my wheels. Like nothing was happening. It wasn't changing.
Because the reality is, if you send a kid out,
yeah,
it's not really going to change that kid's behavior. It's not.
They come back the same.
Because the kids we're sending out are the kids are that 5%. There's really not. When I was doing the principal thing for a week, you know, the vice principal thing, saw the same kids over and over. We have like 12 kids that are like the 12 kids that make up almost half of all the referrals.
If that's true, why can't they just take these kids?
That's a different story. So our goal though is, because if we are dealing with the other 95%, those other kid 2 or 3 in our class that are up, they are understanding. They really are, because they're like, hey,
they'll fall in line. Yeah,
the other ones will fall in line, and the ones you send up, they see them already. Okay, we know these kids are coming.
Right.
But it's when you lose a lot of the kids in the class, then they're like, wait a second, what's going on? So our goal is that 95%. But to get to the 95%, I'm telling you, the key is this. The key is that accountability part.
Yeah.
Call them on every little thing. And I always get this analogy, is that snowball. You start small. If you let the small things go, they just
that's great. Yeah, I know.
I'll give you an example today. Our kid back there, you know.
Yeah.
Our kid back there. Real small. He was, and you called him on it. He had some paper and he was throwing it to somebody else, and you called him on it, right?
That's daily. That's
daily, right? You called him on it. And then as we're doing something else, he started doing it again, right? And then at one point, and so throwing paper. So we'll say his name. Here's his name.
Let's call him Adam.
All right, Adam. So Adam, right? Throwing paper. Put his name up there, right? And then he does it again. There's a check mark right there, right? So those are 2 things. So, and then from there, because he did not
stop,
because he didn't really see that he wasn't being held accountable. You know what I mean? He didn't really see that we were calling him on it. We just told him stop, but that was it. It starts escalating. The next thing you know, he comes up to you and he asks something to you.
Yeah.
And then next thing I know, which is out of his seat, next thing you know, he's over talking to another student over here. He gets something from that student, goes back over there to the Chromebook, does something with the Chromebook, then he comes back over here, and so every step of the way. So the idea is that if we would have stopped it here, if we could have got him right there, none of his other things would have transpired. And so that's the idea. Call on it right away. Put his name. I see you. I'm holding you accountable.
Yeah.
I got you.
Right.
And that's a secret. And so by doing that.
Yeah, I just, at some point I'm like, why am I wasting all of my time documenting these things, writing referrals? It's just like.
You're right. And
nobody was telling me this stuff.
You're right. You're right. The best part about this is when this is really, and this is going like it should go, you're going to find yourself writing a lot less referrals.
Right.
I'm thinking referrals, maybe one a week. Maybe one a week I write. And it's for small stuff. I mean, really, I guess small stuff. I mean, it's a kid.
So it must be low level then, or
low level, yeah, for the most part, low level. But, anyways, that's and once you really sync thing, because it's amazing how kids pick up on it. They pick up. They know what they can get away with in different classes and other classes, and so that's how the progressive. Now, this takes a little bit of work because, for me, it's second nature because I do it all the time. Because I take a little work because again, you have to kind of mentally be ready each class because it takes a lot of work. All right, here we go. I got to call each kid on each one. And I got to deal with 20 different attitudes and 20 different, so you got to mentally go into it saying, I'm going to put the work in now. You put the work in for the 3 weeks and then smooth sailing, fairly smooth. It's a cruise for the rest of the year. But the secret is you got to call them out on every little thing, put it up there. And then when I say call them out, you don't want to like send them all to the office or say get them all detentions because you ain't got time for that. We ain't got time for that. You know what's got time? It's like your name's up here. I'm gonna call it detention, but honestly, this is just a way of saying I see what you're doing. That is it. And then slowly you'll start weeding through the ones that will adhere to it and the ones that will not.
Okay, so which ones are you going to document in Aries, though?
The ones I would document Aries are the ones I know if I have limited time, I'm gonna document the ones I know that eventually, based upon previous behavior experiences, will probably send it to the office.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah, because if I know Susie's really not a problem in the class, and I know Susie, if I do this, Susie's like, oh my gosh, you're really.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm not wasting time documenting that. You know what I mean? So it's the ones I know will probably progress that I will do it. Right. And if I see a pattern, suddenly Susie starts going that way, I'm like, okay, I better start documenting, because that's where it's eventually going to go. So with that said, I know it's a lot easier said than done, because it's really going to be exhausting. It's going to be so exhausting doing it. But it pays off in the long run. Give me a question, because I know I'm talking, I'm not sure.
Okay,
give me some scenarios.
Okay, so you're saying detention.
I'm saying detention, because when I first come in, I have it here. If you don't put your backpack down, it's a 2-minute detention.
Yeah.
Plus, by saying detention.
Detention is just a broad topic saying it could be, hey, you spend time with me, or.
Exactly. Because I say detention, right?
Right.
If I just say.
Being detained.
Detained. Or if I say detention, then I could come in and say, hey, I don't want to.
You're not specifically doing a process with them, no.
No, I'm just saying, that way I can come to the kid and say, I don't want to give you detention. You don't want detention. I'm going to take your name off.
Yeah,
you
just after class and we'll talk.
Yeah. You don't even have to do that at first. The first time is, this is our talk. Hey, I don't want, I'll tell you what. I'm going to erase your name from the board, okay? Can you promise to be good the rest of the time? Okay, promise? All right. And as those 6 minutes, as they're doing the warm-ups, that's what you're doing. Take Susie's name off, right? For that is. All right. And now if you see Susie doing this as a pattern, that's a different story.
Yeah.
So it's not like it resets every day. You're just trying to find out where it's at. Because Susie knows every day she'd get away with her phone. Day 3, she's getting out her phone because all she knows is you put her name up there and taking off. So it's like a continuation thing.
Right. Then what? Then
same thing. Like Susie, we talked yesterday about your phone. You have it out again.
That's going to be.
Yeah, have it out again.
I can already tell you.
Yeah, don't say names. But you said
January 13th, 14th, it's going to be phones. It's going to be backpacks.
Correct. Here we go. So boom, Susie, we talked yesterday. We talked about this. I gotta take your phone. And phones. I'm not sure. Gotta take your phone and just see me after class. All right. It's no more. I'm gonna take your name off. You gotta see me after class. And so she's already escalated to obviously the quick conversation I had with her in class didn't work. Then it's got to go see me after class. Then it's going to go, hey, come in for 5-minute detention. Hey, you can't serve you didn't serve the 5-minute detention. Then, hey, now we're at a point where I have to send a referral or something. It progresses.
For some of these kids, it's going to be a power struggle.
It's all of them. It's power struggle. It's all.
So then what? Then just have security come and take their phone, or
for the phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, just do what that's because
it's kind of like all choices I've had is just, hey, either give it to me or give it to security. And if you give it to security, it's a more serious consequence.
Correct. So the phone thing's a little different because that's what admin's telling us to do.
Yeah.
Right. So if we're sending a kid up because not give his phone, that's because that's what admin wants to do. So that's a little different, right? But it is a power struggle. Hey, I need to have your phone. No, okay. Hey, if you want to give me your phone, I totally get you. No worries. Do me a favor. I'm gonna write you. I'm gonna send up a referral to the office or whatever else the office. Go ahead and take it to the office. So that's that. If they argue about that, then of course you want to get security and everything else, whatever you gotta do. But a lot of times kids will say no because they want the power struggle, because they think they can win the power struggle, because the class has shifted to that percentage that are like trying to cause trouble.
Yeah.
Right. When you have the class on your side, then it's less likely that students. There are still going to be some.
Yeah.
But it's less likely because they can't find the camaraderie around everybody else.
Right.
Oh, look what I'm doing. The rest of the class is like.
I can think of 2 of them.
Yeah.
Off bat. Yeah.
Ladies, most likely.
Very much.
Yeah.
You probably know who I'm talking about.
I think I know. So. Give me another question about how this plays out.
I was thinking about this a lot last night and this morning. I think when you come down to the root of all evil, it's just defiant behavior.
I agree.
in all cases. And learning how to deal with kids and defiant behavior is going to be your success in middle school.
I agree. Now, here's this question. I heard this and it kind of blew my mind thinking about this. The question is a lot of times, what is the solution to defiant behavior?
Yeah.
And the answer actually is this, that defiance is their solution to something going on. I'm like, what? So something's going on with the kid that they want to be defiant. Whatever that might be is something's causing them to be defiant. So we're defiant, we're like, this is the problem. Well, no, the kid's choosing to be defiant because actually that's their solution. Maybe they want attention. Maybe they're angry and they're trying to take it out. And so their way of taking it out is
being defiant.
Defiant, right? So now I'm not a proponent of trying to figure out all the root cause. That's not going to happen.
We're not qualified for that.
Right. But what you can do, what you'll find out is when you create the classroom environment where they can't get what they want from it for being defiant, you're going to see less of it. Not always. Trust me, not always, but you're going to see less of it. Once again, it kind of goes back to the thing. If a student is defiant because they want the attention of their peers, right? They're fine. No, I'm not giving my phone. You gotta give my, you know how that is. And they're like, and the class is all looking at them. They're like, oh yeah, right, right, yeah, whatever. And they walk out. And I told so and so. They got what they wanted from their peers as well. But imagine then that a kid's being defiant, and they're like, I'm gonna give my phone to everybody else, and everybody's like, just doing their work. They're not getting what they want. And that's the power of the classroom environment. That's when you get that class on your side.
Yeah.
That change. It doesn't eliminate it completely. You're still gonna have some kids pop up. You're still gonna have some kids pop up, but it lessens lessens the times that's gonna happen. But you're right. I think defiance is a big part of it, and the reason they're also time defiant is because they're always testing the boundaries.
Yeah.
And every time we move the boundary,
the first week that they're here in August,
and that's the thing. But holding them accountable though,
right?
We're holding that boundary line. We're holding them accountable to the boundary line. And so as soon as, if they realize, if they hit it one time and it goes through the first time, they're like, sweet, there's no boundary there.
Yeah.
They hit it like 2 or 3 times and finally we give in. They're like, all right, we're cool. So the thing is going to be the consistent holding them accountable. By doing that, you start weeding out the kids that would be openly defiant just to test the boundaries.
In my defense,
yes,
when you're in your first, second, third year of learning how to teach, that you don't even, they're unknown unknowns like Rumsfeld.
I agree. If
they could understand that,
that's my pet peeve. That's my pet peeve. Because I almost got fired my first year. The only reason I'm trying to think why they even kept me around. They said these things. They said, hey, things aren't seem to be working out. We'll try one more spot for you. And I barely made it through my first year. 2, 3 were bad. And I really did not come into my own until year 7.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason they kept me around is probably because they didn't have anybody else, right? But you're right. I think that's so unfair. First 5 years, you're just trying to figure it out, right? They want the world from you.
They want you to be ready to go, and like, you got 3 months.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
You don't have 3 years, you have 3 months.
I agree.
And I've had people tell me, your classroom management, what you need is a good lesson. And you won't have to worry about classroom.
No.
Focus on that and get the kids engaged.
I think...
And I've tried so many things to try to build engagement and lesson, and I'm focusing on the wrong thing.
That's not it. It's not it. And I think the problem is, I don't think people who've been doing this a long time, or especially admin, it's been forever since, I think they have a hard time going back to the early years.
Yeah.
Because the statistic all the time, 50% of teachers quit by year 5.
Yeah.
Right? And
because they're learning the unknowns.
Correct.
That they should have been focusing on from the beginning.
Yeah. And they don't teach you this in college, right?
No.
This is nothing, right? And so that's my biggest pet peeve with all this, is they expect to get it from the get-go, and it just doesn't. And I think, because like I said, I didn't get it from the get-go. So, and doing these YouTube videos forces me to really think, well, what exactly do I do, and how do I break it down? How would I, if I had to start over again or do it, how? So that, and the hard part is trying to communicate that, because you know how you be doing something for so long, it's like second nature to you, and so like how do I actually break it down? But you're right that this is nothing they cover, and there's a little bit of art to it. I mean, there's an art, and this is all part of the art part, you know. Because you always hear routines and procedures, but what the hell does that mean? Routines and procedures, right?
When they start talking about that, it goes over.
Yeah. Like I'm just trying to breathe here. We have routines and procedures.
Like you're trying to survive one period at a time.
Exactly. So I'm gonna tell you right now, the first week back, it's gonna be exhausting. It's gonna be the hardest week back, because the reason why it's gonna be more exhausting is because we're not gonna budge on the boundaries. We're not going to, because the moment we do, that's when we start losing again. This is the best chance for the restart. So, give me another scenario or something else that you think.
Person A and person B.
Yes.
When they start getting way out of line.
A and B. First thing we're gonna do, we're trying to solve from the beginning. We're separating them.
Yeah.
We're trying to isolate them.
Yeah.
Right? Trying to isolate them, and then we're trying to stop it from getting to that point. Student A. First student A is away from student B. That helps it out. Student A has expectations. Got it. Student A stands up. Boom.
Yeah.
Right? Call him right away. Student A. Boom. I don't know why I put B down. Call him right away. As soon as it happens, hey, we already talked about it. You got to stay in your seat. And they're going to say, they're going to come up because, well, I was actually just needed to, I was going to say, oh, I got you. No worries.
Yeah.
Just make sure you know, next time you got to check with me. But right now, this is your warning, right? You just got to call them on it. And the idea is hopefully we catch it before it gets to a point where it gets too hard to manage. So that means stay in your seat, be quiet. That's it. Right?
Yeah.
Stay in your seat. If anything beyond that point, then that's when we got to call them. No matter how small, no matter if it's, hey, they come up to you, ask a question, right? Hey, same thing, come and ask a question.
Yeah, but
hey, well, I'm just asking a question. No, I got you, and I'll help you ask a question. Remember, you got to stay in your seat though, right?
Yeah. You
just got to keep calling them on it, see me after class, and by doing that, it's gonna less likely things are gonna get escalated, less likely. But if they do get escalated, then hopefully we got the documentation there already. We turn these things here, and then we can send it without worrying about what's the office saying, because we've done our little things.
Right.
So I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's going to be it. Yeah, that's going to be the work.
That's gonna be there. That's it. That's it. So anything else? Give me something to clarify, because I feel bad.
Okay, so person B won't take off his backpack. Probably won't sit in the assigned new seating arrangement. Will be up and around, constantly playing with the sinks. Out of their seat.
So here's a question.
Throwing stuff.
If he sees the rest of the class doing it,
do
you think there's a better chance that he might do it?
No, they're just loose cannons.
If he sees the rest of the class doing it, and he still chooses not to, then we're gonna call him right away. And for him, first day he'll probably for sure almost get to that spot where see me after class.
Right.
Second day, he's for sure almost a spot where, hey, I'm calling home. We're issuing a lunch at 10%. Third day, hey man, this is just too much, and so it's going to escalate fast with some students.
Yes.
It will. But once again, the thought is, if that's the only one that I'm having to deal with, that's much better than having to deal with the whole class.
Right.
And I can't get a lesson out because they're not listening and kids are throwing things or walking around or something else.
Right.
So going back to expectation, in your mind, think, okay, what exactly do I want the kids to be like in a perfect class? And then you got to hold them to that, and they'll rise to it. They'll surprise you. They'll actually will do what you want them to do, as long as you hold the line.
Yeah.
So
they do that anyway. It's the handful that make it bad.
You say they do it anyways. Can I probe you a little bit on this one?
No, I mean I have a lot of good students, and they do exactly what I asked them to. I had no problem. It's
So here, let me ask the question.
These right here that you were referring to.
Yeah, they're great.
Everything I asked them.
Correct.
No trouble there.
Yes.
they're good kids. They're a little silly sometimes. They're pretty good too.
Yeah.
A lot of bathroom situations, but
Well, that's the thing we're gonna take with the bathrooms. But here's the thing: is would you say they're perfect?
nah, they've got some tendencies
Okay.
that could be corrected,
Perfect.
more or less.
Pretty good,
I wouldn't
yeah.
say 100%. I'd say 80, 90%.
I agree. Okay, I know. Perfect.
They're smart kids. They're too smart for this.
Okay. Behavior-wise, though, we're talking about behavior.
They could use some a little improvement.
That's the expectation you need to have.
Okay.
Not that hell they're almost there. They're better. There's the problem I run into. They're better than them, so I'm gonna let that go because at least that's not that.
This is better than that. Yeah. But you can't do that.
No, because then you're already moving that line. You're already moving that line,
Right.
and it's
But
you lost from the beginning.
I mean, I feel bad for some of these really smart kids that they're in the same class with everyone else, and I've got to slow everything down.
Now you talk about academics. That's another
Yeah.
ball game.
Yeah.
That's
Because I can see, they're too smart for this. That's what kind of like, they're ahead of everyone else, and they're like extra time. Extra time leads to behavior issues.
so yeah.
I saw the same thing in, I could say, sixth period last year.
Yeah. But are they? There is an academic part to it for sure. There's definitely an academic part to it. But removing that away, the behavior, I would argue that the behavior is there first before the academics.
Yeah.
That if the behavior of the entire class is on par, or 95% is on par, then you can take the kids wherever you want to take them. Yeah. You could give them a little bit harder, challenging thing. All that stuff they talk about, the differentiation, instruction, and this and that.
That's a lot of work.
That is not even possible
in the first week.
Unless at all, unless you have the classroom manager thing on point.
Yeah. Right.
So I wouldn't even think about they're more advanced than the other. I would think, is their expectation exactly where I want it to be at?
No.
And if it's not,
then we can work on it.
You gotta hold them to it, because I guarantee some of those today.
Yeah.
Today.
I know. Same thing every day. I
Talking,
tell them.
Yeah. So if it's not there, you boom, 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 boom. But so and so. Boom,
yeah,
talking
out of turn.
You got to for every little thing. And so constantly think, is this where I want, not, is this good enough for me? Is this where I want it at? If it's not, call it. And you're gonna see that eventually that bar gets raised. They know where you're at. They know they can't budget. And then you're gonna see them kind of falling in line. 3 weeks though, I'm telling you, it takes 3 weeks. So it gets better a little bit each day, but 3 weeks takes. So the first week we're just gonna focus on those warm-ups. Then after that, we are starting to introduce some material. But as far as just being consistent, it takes about 3 weeks to fully get the kids all on board.
Right. So that's how you explain the progressive
discipline. Exactly. Call everybody out on it. Have a conversation. You're going to find out what it's going to take for each kid.